30 years ago, scientists realized that the Earth was running out of oil. The United States of America conceived of a strategy to control the largest supply of this remaining oil located in and around the Persian Gulf. During the 1970s, instability in the Middle East led to huge spikes in oil prices. Referred to as the energy crisis, the threat of losing access to oil caused those in Washington to set a dangerous precedent. In January 1980, President Carter declared the Gulf a zone of U.S. influence.
Let our position be absolutely clear. An attempt by any outside force to gain control of the Persian Gulf region will be regarded as an assault on the vital interests of the United States of America, and such an assault will be repelled by any means necessary, including military force.
Carter then created the Rapid Deployment Force, a military unit capable of rushing several thousand troops to the Gulf during any U.S.-deemed crisis. Shortly thereafter, President Reagan transformed the Rapid Deployment Force into the Central Command, taking responsibility for the protection of the Gulf and the surrounding regions. The U.S. Navy added the Joint Task Force Middle East to protect oil tankers navigating through these waters, and expanded the U.S. naval presence to a fleet of more than 40 aircraft carriers and battleships. Then came the First Gulf War. President Bush Sr. spearheaded an attempt to assassinate Saddam Hussein, who had invaded Kuwait a month earlier. As it turned out, Hussein received secret U.S. information to do so and could not have expected such a reaction from his friends in Washington. It was this pre-planned protection of Kuwait that would lead the world to view the U.S. military presence in the Persian Gulf as a much-needed stabilizing force. In the decade after the war, the U.S. sold more than $43 billion worth of protection to these countries, including weapons, technology, and U.S. RAN bases. The imposition of a no-fly zone in northern and southern Iraq enforced by U.S. aircraft from Saudi facilities only stiffened U.S. imperial control over the Gulf region and would begin to fuel the opposition to Western policy we see today. Fundamentalist or not, the foreign policy that the United States has implemented in the Middle East is unacceptable. 9/11 and the War on Terror has only led to further military production and allowed the current administration to win huge increases in the defense budget, which now stands at $400 billion. All this funding has further aided in the creation of military facilities on the perimeter of the Gulf, creating continuous links of U.S. bases and facilities surrounding the Gulf region. Removing Saddam Hussein is one of the final pieces of the puzzle cementing American imperial control of the Middle East. There are over 130,000 U.S. troops in Iraq, and their mandate of freeing the Iraqi people is becoming increasingly more outlandish. This desire for oil control sheds a light on what I believe is a far greater issue. The United States is the largest consumer of fossil fuels on the planet and is driving the Earth into environmental instability. Now, with the same elite who helped create this policy of energy control in office, the Bush administration is playing out a well-planned script for oil control while ignoring the fundamental and ethical issues surrounding this source of energy. As it now stands, the world uses between 4 and 6 barrels of oil for every new barrel it finds. Why has so much violence and oppression occurred throughout the Middle East for the sole purpose of securing this environmentally dangerous and diminishing product?
Hmm.